I tell them the two things that I care about. This every day. My kids can tell you, I can line them all up and they can list it for you. But we do a lot of sports. We're a sports family. We love our sports. And so we're in Texas. We do football, And so I take my kids out there, and number one, attitude. Number two, effort. They know that mama likes to win, okay? But mama does not care how the game turns out. I don't even care one bit. You know what I mean? We might ask about it. We might talk about it. We might talk about the positives and the negatives and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if they came out there with a great attitude and put in a great effort, I am happy. And that's the building block. And that correlates to business so much. If I bring somebody into my office and they have a great attitude and they put in a great effort, I can ask them or train them to do anything, right?
Welcome to another episode of the At Depth podcast. This is the show where we sit down with leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, funds, family offices, operators, wonderful mix of people in the business world. Our simple purpose is this: we want to explore the through lines that connect what we value to how we lead, invest, and build. My guest today is a rare blend of attorney and CPA. Add on that she's also an operator, investor, and a mother of four. She cut her teeth at two of the big four accounting firms, moved into investment, and she serves in multiple operating roles currently. She's the CFO for a family office, which is a big job, while also helping lead a company that builds blast-proof containment solutions, which is incredibly fascinating. What I appreciate about this conversation is the tension that she holds so well. There's precision in humanity, truth and kindness, and the through line is this well-mixed drive with life balance as a combination. We talk about raising young entrepreneurs, investing in people over businesses. The attitude and effort component of this podcast is actually a wonderful piece of the conversation. And I love this. She says 5 years is a longer runway than most of us think. So let's get going. It's time to find our depth. Carin, introduce us to you a little bit. Tell us about yourself. And if you can, include something a little weird and wonderful.
I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in the suburbs and stayed here at SMU for college. And getting close to the end of college, I was like, I don't know what to do with myself, but I'm not quite ready to get a job. It turns out I was pretty good at studying and taking exams, so I just kept going. So I went to law school, and when I was in law school, I decided I also liked accounting. So I went and got my master's in accounting. George Washington, and then I sat for all the exams. So it's kind of a hot mess, but my background basically now includes I'm an attorney, I am a CPA, and I'm also a real estate agent. That is my trifecta of education, where I feel like it uniquely qualifies me to evaluate deals and kind of understand the inner workings of how the law and, real estate and finances all work together. So that's kind of where I'm at and like how I started my journey.
So when you're trying to calm down at the end of the day and you have to turn what I would call three hyper brains off, what is how do you get those three brilliant people to kind of like shut up and sit down and relax?
I don't do a lot of sitting or relaxing, turns out. I also have 4 children. Actually, I do the opposite. I work out. So I am tired.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I basically go all day, every day. And then at the end of the day, I am tired. So,
I love getting really close to making a sexist comment on these things. And oftentimes they come in reverse sexism, but like I watch the way that my wife functions.
yeah.
And I'm like, you have just got capacity as a human being that I don't think I can access, which is proven by this wonderful little stat that extreme long distance running is a female dominated sport. Like literally guys, the best guys in the world cannot ultra marathon as well as the best women in the world. It's like one of those complete inverted
That's
sports.
crazy.
So I hear that. I think of that in the background. I'm like, oh yeah, Karen's just got it.
Well, as long as you're not asking me to do long distance running.
Yeah, if you're going to work out, what are you going to do?
I love Orange Theory Fitness. I am a junkie. I have, here you go. You can see I have my orange cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
I go almost every day and I am committed. So
It's a religion.
It is. And once you get in there and you just kind of, I don't know, we have our group 8:30 girls and we go in there every day, work out, and I just love it because you get it's so fast. 30 minutes on, the treadmill, 30 minutes lifting weights, and then you go home. So I only have an hour. So that basically meets all my needs.
Well, let's talk about that move in the investment side. You've gone and you've done more education than most. Probably could have been a surgeon. So you did that. You had a really neat introduction into this public accounting world, really sunk your teeth into it, probably got to solve a lot of very interesting, unique problems, especially in the private equity world. That is like the hotbed of unique, interesting problems.
Yes, yes.
And now you have this seat. So there's how'd you make that leap? Was this was it an easy leap, or did you get to, run around the block a few times before you ended up here?
I really loved my job in public, like I said. And I think that the really unique thing about how publics work today is that a lot of times it's an entrepreneurial mindset within the firms. So it's kind of like you build your book of business, and as you grow and you develop relationships with clients, and you're always client serving and client facing, as you rise up, you're overseeing the work that's done and kind of solving the bigger issues. So once you get towards the top, so you're a senior manager, an executive director, those positions on your way to partner, or kind of however the firms are structured, it's a little bit different in each one. Is that you kind of are responsible for your clients and your business, and you have support roles of like admin and marketing, and you've got the staff under you that are actually doing the work on the day-to-day basis, but you're kind of responsible for all those levels. And so I really enjoyed that. But I think what was wearing on me was kind of more some of the administrative things and the red tape, because it is a large firm. And so you do have to do, 15-minute increments of your timesheet. And you do have to, just jump through the hoops for all the things. And I've been doing that, for 15 years. In fact, I was talking to my team about it today. We were joking about it. And because I told them, I said, listen, I used to have to do 15 minutes. I'm just asking you for like hourly, like, what are you guys working? And I'm getting pushback. So
pushback? Carin, come on, girl. What are you doing? Tell them how it's done.
I joke about it, but it's one of the reasons I left Big Four is because I was so tired of doing my timesheet.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had my fourth child at the time, and I had all four of my children when I was working for a different, for PwC. I had two of them, and then EY, I had the second two. And why I was on my maternity leave, my sister had started doing some financial consulting and had worked as a fractional CFO, and she was kind of getting her business going. And so I kind of got connected in that realm. So I decided I didn't necessarily want to go back to public accounting, and I was going to be in a consulting role. And so I kind of started picking up some jobs, trying it out a little bit, because at that time I still had a good relationship with EY and I could have gone back and worked there. So I was trying it out a little bit and I loved it, but I also didn't want the responsibilities of running basically my own practice. And like I said, I saw my sister doing it, and she has a Tiger CFO as her company, and she does a phenomenal job at doing the accounting, bookkeeping, and CFO role in the fractional level. And so I do think that kind of was the direction that I was going. But in those roles, I got connected with Adam Rossi, who owns Indy, and he is just phenomenal. And I think that when I started to look back to say, okay, I think I do want to stick with the company, but maybe I do want to go smaller. He was kind of my first connection and first person I reached out to.
First person, and he hired you.
He did. I was networking, actually. I was just telling him, hey, I loved working for you, and I always look for good people. And we actually still in Indy, we hold that motto. It's like we don't invest in businesses, we invest in people. And I think that that's really key of a lot of businesses, because if you surround yourself with good people who are like-minded and not necessarily from the same mind, but just like-minded in your values and kind of which direction you want to move, well, then you'll find other people who are moving with you. And you end up with these great relationships of achieving things that you're looking to do. And so kind of he was that person where out of all the people I kind of been consulting with, he reminded me actually a lot of my father. My father's an entrepreneur. He owns a company called Cardinal Roofing, and he's ran that business for the last 43-ish years. And so I grew up watching him, run his business. And so when I met Adam, he ran his business in much the same way and just had a lot of the similar values and things that I looked for. And so I approached him and I just said, I'm looking to go back full time. If you have any connections or know anyone in the industry that may be looking, please reach out. And a few days later, he had reached back out to me and he just said, hey, you know what? This is kind of the right time for my business to expand. And I'm looking to place someone as well. So we, talked and it worked out great for us.
Let's jump ships a little bit to Indy. You said as the CFO of Indy, and it sounds like there's more to it than even just that as well. I'm curious how you have been able to get the accounting, the legal, and the finance function to sort of work for you in a professional environment, because that's unique. I mean, I've never met anyone else that kind of ticks all those three boxes. So I feel like I should ask like genie in the bottle type questions here.
It was really interesting because I did start straight out of college into the legal path. And I really quickly realized that is not long-term where I wanted to be.
Why? What was
I'm
it?
not a writer. A lot of legal work is language and writing. And so it did not come naturally to me. Law school was very hard for me. And so I could tell you on day one, I was like, wow, this is not where I belong. But it cost so much money to get up there, to get into school. I signed a lease and the prices up in Virginia were astronomical compared to what I was used to. So I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this. And so I dug in. And for my graduation, I literally invited every person in my family and demanded that they fly to Virginia to show up for me to walk across the stage. Because I said, this is the hardest thing I have or ever will do.
Here we go. Like, you have the floor. Tell me how, and start with like at distance. Like, how do you identify someone who's like that person's worth a conversation? And then take me through, like, they've been working for you for 5 years, and how have you kept that alignment and kept motivating them to be the kind of person that you hired, right? Some wonderful people have said you can always train skill, but you hire for attitude and for culture.
100%. Yeah.
And so tell me how you do it. What's the secret sauce?
Every situation obviously has its own, uniqueness, and you kind of have to, I would say, almost be the generalist or be the big picture person on this kind of, what you're going to do. But I think that when I am working with others, in these big four accounting firms, we had a new class of interns come in every semester. So let's say 12, 15 people would come in and get trained, and kind of you would, match them up and kind of train through them. And so I would just say that, like, in those kind of situations where you're seeing and training a lot of people, you will find people that just more align with you generally. And it, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a similar history or background or anything specific that has to be similar. I think it's more a similar mindset. And then also sometimes you have to meet people where they're at, not necessarily always where you want them to end up. And even raising my children, I tell them the two things that I care about. This every day. My kids can tell you, I can line them all up and they can list it for you. But we do a lot of sports. We're a sports family. We love our sports. And so we're in Texas. We do football, And so I take my kids out there, and number one, attitude. Number two, effort. They know that mama likes to win. Okay. But mama does not care how the game turns out. I don't even care one bit. You know what I mean? We might ask about it. We might talk about it. We might talk about the positives and the negatives and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if they came out there with a great attitude and put in a great effort, I am happy. And that's the building block. And that correlates to business so much. If I bring somebody into my office and they have a great attitude and they put in a great effort, I can ask them or train them to do anything. And it does not matter. And I think over time, the reward for good work is more work. If you get out there, they've hired you and, I don't know, do something amazing, and they ask you to sweep the floor, right? So if you go over there and you sweep the floor and you do an amazing job, and then, oh, by the way, you see 3 other things that need to get picked up, and then, you go make a photocopy and help this person and take this over here and then have everything ready, all of a sudden, they don't want you sweeping the floor. You know what I mean? They're like, wait, I need this awesome task done. Go get that guy. I know he does a great job no matter what I ask him to do. He doesn't know how to do this, but I'll teach him. So real quickly, you became the guy that nobody knew or nobody cared about or just no one was sure about to, hey, at least he'll try.
This is something I've been telling my kids too recently. Like this morning, we had a little time together as a family, and we were talking about kindness, and we were practicing What are kind things you are going to tell people today? And, my little daughter, it's the morning. She's just flopping around. I can't think of anything. She's 5. I can think
Okay.
of too many things. I can't think of one. And then my son, who's 8, he kind of gets rolling. He's like, you know, ask someone how their day was, or like invite someone to play, or like, I'll wait for you. Cause like sometimes when you're getting your snow gear on, everyone runs out and you're still putting your snow gear on. So like, I'll wait for you. That would be a nice thing. And then my little daughter, she picked up the thing and she said, I think it'd be nice to tell people they look nice. And they started saying these things. And you know what I realized, Carin?
What?
I realized that kids, and this is like total broad, gross cultural commentary, but I'm going to do a little bit of that. I've realized that kids these days don't generally say as many nice things. It's not like I was realizing like here we were practicing with our kids very intentionally how to say nice things to other people. And I realized like I don't know many people who do that. And so the net result that I realized was like it used to count this much to say something nice to someone, kids. But in today's world, if you say one nice thing, it actually counts for about this much
Yes.
because
Yes.
so few people are doing that. And I feel like it's the exact same in your world. Like everything's like, how little can I do? I want to do the bare minimum to get by. Like everything's about being hyper efficient. And I've got all these tools to help me do as little as humanly possible. And what you're saying is like, yeah, but I look for the people that like do a great job and then do a little extra and don't need to be told. Ideally, have like little test projects with people, like do a little bit of work with them to see how they work.
Mm-hmm.
And you see attitude, effort showing up, right?
Right.
How do you pour fuel on that fire? Because it is a fire
Right.
and it can go out. Like I've watched people literally snuff that out of people. It's like, yeah, you've got effort and you've got good attitude, but I'm literally just going to like take all the fuel out of that thing and just smother you because it's intimidating to me or something.
The fuel goes out so quickly when they realize that it doesn't matter if they put in the attitude and the effort, right? And I would tell you this, it goes both ways though. I think number one, people give up too quickly, right? Because
Mm,
over time, it does matter, right?
yeah.
And sometimes patience isn't all of our virtues, but from a Christian standpoint, like it's sometimes years and years and years, and it's always longer than you want it to be.
Always.
You know what I
Every
mean?
time.
But what happens is eventually, if you stay the course, like people are really focusing in right now on consistency versus big pushes over time. You'll see the person that stays consistent day by day by day, they always have bigger gains than the one that, if you go to the gym for 8 hours one day, or if you just go 1 hour for 8 months, you're obviously the 8 month person's going to have more results. On the side of the performer, I would say it's so important to just stay the course. But on the other side, as the manager, as the person that's leading the charge, there's a couple of things. As gratitude goes a long way. And I'll give you an example. My boss just wrote me my Christmas card. He sends out a letter, and in that letter he tells us thank you for what we did that year, and he acknowledges us. And I will tell you, this is my absolute favorite thing that I get every year. I have my one from last year right here that I keep by my desk. So
Wow.
it's a big deal. It goes a long, long way just to have gratitude towards someone and acknowledge them and what they're doing. But the second piece is that you need to keep someone at a level just outside their comfort zone. And you've probably heard this before, but if you put someone too far outside their capabilities and too far outside their comfort zone, well, then they get frustrated and they start to feel disheartened and they quit. If you keep someone underneath in their comfort zone, they get bored.
Mm.
So our goal and to help someone grow is to always give them an assignment that is just slightly outside their comfort zone. And what happens is as they grow, well, then you'll do it again. And as they grow, you'll do it again. And if you can continue to keep someone just slightly outside, then they will elevate. And the other thing is, obviously the same thing holds true for us, right? So I'm always challenging myself. We actually have a subset of Indy called Indy Elevate is the name of the LLC, but we use that to help elevate people around us. The idea is that as you elevate, you pull people up with you. So you never go it alone. And you would be really hard pressed to grow and to do anything with alone with no network. And so, your idea is to grow and always take others with you. And Adam does a great job exploring that because he, as an entrepreneur, had a great success with his business, and he's always willing. He does podcasts and he will mentor people, and he's happy to jump in there and offer advice or mentorship to people who are trying to do the same thing as him. He sets a great example for me and for others around him to just really don't forget to turn around and give back all the time. And so I really take that to heart.
Yeah, giving back. So say thank you earnestly and specifically. Always push yourself and the people around you to be just a little bit outside their comfort zone. And then as you sort of move and progress, don't forget to look back and say, I remember I was that person. How can I
Yes.
help that person?
Yes. 100%. I just go so far. And the other thing that's kind of hard about this that maybe we didn't touch on is, with your daughter, you're kind of saying it a little bit as well, but you want to be kind, but being nice isn't always kind.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to be kind by telling someone something negative, or you tell them very directly, and this is lost. This is so lost today. But you
Yeah.
need to directly tell someone, a review point, or we call them opportunities for improvement, right? If I don't like what you're doing, or I feel like you're just missing something, it's actually unkind to not tell you. It might be nice. I might be nice to you and not necessarily tell you what's driving me crazy or what you're doing wrong. But over the long haul, I'm not being nice to you because I'm not giving you, first of all, the opportunity to fix it and grow, right? And so there's got to be that balance of genuine gratitude. And then I think just really bringing that vulnerability to those relationships and really just being able to dive in with someone and just say, hey, this is an area that you're really lacking on, and here's 2 or 3 things that we can work on together, or that I can task you with to let's grow. Having that right balance and the right combination is everything.
I would love to kind of operationalize this a little bit, because some people are going to be listening to this and be like, great, this all sounds nice, but I've got a company that does X, Y, or Z. And so I can't do it. The number one excuse is well, my industry isn't suited to all that nice touchy-feely stuff, which I firmly and strongly disagree with. But I would love for you to just real quickly, okay, so that's your mindset, that's your heartbeat, that's how you operate, and that's how you want to treat people. And you do that inside of, it sounds like, a family office type environment where you're making investments, as well as an operating company environment where you produce product at
Right.
a large scale.
Right.
So I kind of want you to just give us the quick landscape. How does this integrate into all that sort of legal, numerical, accounting-y, finance-y type hard decisions that you have to make, and the things that y'all do? And tell me a little bit about the things that y'all do at the same time.
We can jump a little bit into Total Shield. The company is fascinating. So they create blast-proof containment solutions. And so effectively, people use them for we are always astounded at the different uses people come up with and message us about, hey, do you have anything? This is what I do, and I'm looking for a containment solution. So everyone's like, what is a containment solution? Effectively, it is steel and polycarbonate screwed together to make a box where you could put something inside of it and blow it up. And basically, the people on the outside of it are usually testing something, right, that they've put in the box, and they're watching it, and you want to protect your people. So this is actually a safety company. We create these items to help companies be able to test their products and create a safe environment for their employees. In the I think we're at 24 years now that the company's been operating, they have not had a single failure that has resulted in someone getting hurt. In fact, I think we kind of joke about this, but there's only one time I think that someone had messaged us and said that, there was some kind of failure, but the failure was they weren't using the product. So, you know what I mean? So anyways, we don't joke. There's never, been someone hurt. Obviously, that's not funny. The idea is that it's a safety precaution. And when you use steel, you obviously can't see, but when you use polycarbonate or another plastic solution, you can watch and see what you're testing. And because these are all custom solutions, we can make it do anything that is needed. And each story and each item that we manufacture is manufactured, with that specific item in mind. Like I said, they're very, very cool. I think that kind of taking what we were talking about of being nice and being balanced in your approach and kind of bringing that all together to Total Shield. So it's relatively small, but that gives me a really good chance to have a relationship with each person that works there and know them well enough to know, like, this is kind of their strengths. This is some, areas that they're not as strong in. And one thing that we've always kind of done in a smaller environment, and you can actually do this in a large environment as well, is you can assign people tasks based on their strengths.
Yeah.
Um, and so if I know
Cool.
that we've done it with our inventory. We know that one person's a lot more into details and he's just very structured and very regimented, and his attention to detail is second to none. And also he's very conscious of price, right? So if the price changes a few cents or a dollar, that makes a huge difference in our products and how much we charge for them. So he's on top of all of that. Yet maybe when it comes to the sales side, he's not as strong in the just natural conversation because he's really, really focused on the details in the moment. So maybe it doesn't flow as naturally, right? But on the flip side, we have another guy that maybe his conversation flows more easily, but maybe the details aren't as apparent to him all the time. And I would have to say that I tend towards more the general side. And so when I need something detail reviewed, I send it over to one of my engineers and just say, hey, could you just read this real quick?
Yeah.
I need to make sure that there's no errors in here. And that's not necessarily, his job or what he does, but he's happy to jump in, help out. And so that's why I would say I would use his strength to strengthen our company as a whole.
So I was going to say, flip that real quick over to, it's like that's someone who works for you and you know them. And so you can really be a part of helping put them in the right place. Go over to like a family office investment side, right? Like, how to have these relationships inside of your closed contained system. But what about like, hey, we're going to give this person money and like they operate in a relatively autonomous sphere? Like, how do you implement sort of that same kind of personal care and identifying someone's strengths in that sphere as well?
I would say it's easier than you think. I told you I'm a big nerd and I love personality typing items. So if there's a personality type test, I've done it. I know what I am and I know what other people are. And I think that a lot of them have great results, just as far as if I kind of understand where I'm at and where I'm coming from, and I kind of understand where you're at and you're coming from, we can kind of, align and move different directions and understand how each other works. I would say a lot of times we love to invest in up and coming organizations. And so I think they call them emerging managers is the term most commonly referred to. But I found this one group and I could just tell from working with them, I saw partners, right? And so one of the partners is the down on the ground, making things happen entrepreneur, right? And then the partner that he works with is the numbers guy who's organized and administrative and keeps this other guy in check, right? So you have to be careful because if people are too different or they don't have the same values or things like that, then that's not a good partnership because they're too different and it's kind of like it's not going to work out. But it's the same thing of like a marriage where a lot of times you need people with two different skill sets to come together to really make it work.
It's astounding, isn't it?
Yeah. And so just piecing that together and kind of making sure that it aligns. And, sometimes people are looking for one specific thing and sometimes you're looking for diversification. The overarching ideas that always come out of this is you're going back to attitude and effort.
Really?
It's just baseline attitude, effort, and balance in everything. I feel like those are kind of the ideas and principles we use when we say we're investing in people and not businesses, is we're looking at who they are, how they fit together, and how they've applied their personalities and what they do to their business.
I was looking back at this blog that we wrote from our first conversation with you, and you had started talking about something in the notes that I found super fascinating to this point of attitude and effort and the simple version. In that conversation, you had talked about kind of making a study of entrepreneurs' children and noticing like how entrepreneurs raise their kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was a totally interesting concept on creating value versus trying to make money. I would love for people to hear from you this concept right there, right? You kind of said like, here's what I'm looking for in an investor, but then like now go to the core of like something that you notice that's essential in someone who's entrepreneurial, and like, what is that thing that they are trying to pass on that's beneficial to the people around them?
Recently, I kind of started to dig at the same idea, but on a really micro level of how to get started actually.
Oh,
And so I'm like, how do these entrepreneurs get started? Like, what
yes.
to teach your children or, your brother or, yourself if you're trying to say, I've got this idea, but I just don't know what to do. And it is so profound, yet not profound at all.
That's the
And
best.
it's simply helping others. And it contributes back to the idea of giving back or being kind. And I've seen it over and over and over again. I can list countless friends and family who've started their own businesses. And I've seen, if you go back to the beginning of how they started, it
Mm.
is this every single time.
I just love that you are you, lawyer, accountant, family office CFO, operating company CFO, talking like that. The big point of this whole podcast, and really a lot of what I'm about, is that wisdom often shows up in very impractical looking forms. And I just love to celebrate that. I think it's so
Yeah.
wonderful. There's just a lot of wisdom walking around us.
This is what my dad always told me. The time is going to go by anyways, right? So set yourself up or do something that once the time goes by, you're in a better position then than you are now. So that could be something like exercising, right? If I decide to go to the gym 3 times a week for the next foreseeable future, well, 5 years from now, I'll be in better shape than I was today. Or if I decide to go, start working at a business, if I just find a job where there's no advancement and I'm not going to do anything different, 5 years from now, I'll be in the same position. So even though I might have to take something a little bit lower, or I might have to go back and educate myself or work harder on something, if I do something and I start today, well, then 4 or 5 years from now, I'll be in a better position. And like my dad says, the time's going to go by anyways. So
It's
you
gonna
might
go
as well
by.
set yourself up in that position. I think other people have said it, do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Oh, I love that. I love that concept. 5 years, I heard this when we first had kids. It has stuck with me that the days are long, but the years are short.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's so
100%.
funny how much we try to cram into one short year.
I'll bring some humor back for you here. But when I heard it, it was from the movie Big Daddy a few years ago. What's your 5-year plan? Don't die.
Don't
So
die.
as long as your 5-year plan is not don't die, then you've got plenty of time to accomplish anything you want. In 5 years, you can accomplish a lot. So it's never too late to get started. It's never too late to try. And it's never too late to dive back in.
I love how that goes straight back to what you're talking about, which is when you're encouraging and leading people, you're always giving them something just a little bit outside their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that 5-year thought is just a little outside of most people's comfort zone. So I love that. You just made us go just a little outside our comfort zone. Carin, is there anything that you need to promote on this show? That's not necessarily the heartbeat of the show, but I do love to give people a chance to say anything if there's something they're excited about or want to share.
Yes. But if you do have any last proof needs, go check out Total Shield. Our products are really geared for defense and space companies. So if you're a defense, engineering, space, any of those type of companies, check Total Shield out. Their products are pretty cool.
I had a total different use case, which was baby cribs. I feel like our kids needed a blast-proof baby crib, so you can have that idea for free today. And if y'all go make $1 bajillion, just send me some champagne or something.
If you need a podcast on ideas on how to deal with babies, I've had a little bit of practice, so.
I think 4 kids ranging 14 to 4 is a pretty solid experience gap while working at 2 of the big 4.
Yeah.
Carin, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to find depth with me. I really enjoyed this conversation. And thank all of you for listening to At Depth. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or go to atdepthpodcast.com. If something in this conversation resonated with you, if you're building something or evolving as a family office or a fund or just evolving as a person, and you're thinking about the long arc of your own work, maybe you're thinking about 5 years, feel free to email me at ben@pivotal.com. That's ben@pivotol.com. I'd love to continue the conversation with you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for choosing to join us at Depth.